picture this for a second. You're handing over a check for your life savings, or trusting someone with your freedom, or maybe even the custody of your children. Now imagine discovering later that the person representing you isn't actually allowed to practice law. Hiring an unverified, suspended, or even a completely fake attorney can literally lead to absolute financial and legal ruin. But hey, the good news? You have the power to prevent this from ever happening. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to empower you with the exact tools you need to independently verify any attorney's credentials in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. It's a really serious question, though. Do you know who you're actually hiring? Look, most of us just rely on a sleek website, a super friendly consultation, or maybe a friend's recommendation. But without independent verification, you're putting your legal rights and your personal security at immense risk. I mean, anyone can print a fancy business card, right? But not everyone is in good standing with the state bar. Checking an attorney's background is an absolutely essential first step in understanding their reputation and legitimacy within the legal community. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our structured roadmap for today. We'll cover why verification matters, understanding MA bar status, our step-by-step lookup guide, overcoming search issues, checking discipline and credibility, and we'll wrap up with final tips and a disclaimer. Section 1. Understanding MA bar status, the BBO's regulatory role. Enter the Board of Board Overseers, or as you'll usually hear it called, the BBO. Established way back in 1974 by the Supreme Judicial Court, the BBO is an independent administrative tribunal. Think of them as the ultimate watchdog for the legal profession in Massachusetts. And what's really fascinating here is that they're entirely funded by the annual registration fees paid by the attorneys themselves. Yep, no public taxpayer funds are spent on this at all. The BBO handles registration, evaluates grievances, and strictly enforces the Massachusetts Rules of Professional Conduct. So when lawyers register with the BBO, they get sorted into specific administrative classifications. And this is crucial. Only active attorneys, meaning those who pay full fees and hold a valid bar card, are permitted to engage in unrestricted private practice. If an attorney is listed as inactive or retired, they are strictly prohibited from practicing law in the Commonwealth. So if someone tells you they're your lawyer, but their status says anything other than active, that is an immediate, glaring red flag. Now here is where it gets a tiny bit nuanced, and it brilliantly illustrates how the system works. There are a few specialized statuses you might run into. For instance, out-of-state attorneys working specifically for a Massachusetts corporation will hold an in-house counsel status. They pay active fees but don't get a standard bar card. On the flip side, you've got pro bono statuses. This is where retired or inactive attorneys provide free legal services through approved nonprofits. They get restricted bar cards and don't pay the standard dues. But listen, for the vast majority of private paid legal matters, you're looking for that standard active status. Moving right along to Section 2. Step-by-step lookup guide, navigating the BBO portal. Verifying a state license is highly accessible, and we're going to walk right through it. Step 1, open up a web browser on your desktop. Actually, quick pro tip, try to avoid Apple Safari for this, as it sometimes has weird compatibility issues with the portal, and head over to massbbo.org. Step 2, right there at the top, click the button that says Look Up an Attorney. Step 3, just enter the attorney's first and last name, or if you happen to have it, their unique BBO registration number. And Step 4, click on their name to review their official profile. It is literally that simple to search the master roll of attorneys. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is a detail that shocks a lot of people. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts does not actually require attorneys to carry malpractice insurance. Wild, right? Because it's not mandated, checking this specific detail on their BBO profile is absolutely crucial for your own financial safety. When you pull up their profile, look specifically for the malpractice insurance column to confirm if they voluntarily reported having active liability coverage. While you're poking around on their profile, you might also notice some other voluntarily tracked details. For example, during registration, attorneys have the option to pay a $51 access to justice fee. That money goes straight toward funding civil legal services for folks with limited means. It's a small detail, sure, but it really shows the breadth of information captured in the BBO's system. All right, Section 3, overcoming search issues, troubleshooting the database. Okay, so you run your search and it comes up empty. Don't panic just yet. First, check your spelling. The database requires exact matches. If you aren't totally sure, just try searching the first few letters of their last name. Second, make sure you're searching for an individual, human being, not a corporate law firm name. The BBO licenses people, not LLCs. And finally, you might just be dealing with the difference between state and federal standing. So, here's the crucial point. State and federal courts maintain totally separate registration systems. If your attorney is representing you in a federal case, like in a U.S. district court, they have to maintain their state active status, and they must complete a biennial re-registration with the federal court. If they forget to do that federal re-registration, they can be dropped from the federal roll or downgraded to inactive, even if their state BBO profile looks totally fine. So, for federal cases, always double-check the U.S. District Court database, too. Which brings us to Section 4, checking discipline and credibility, uncovering ethical records. Back in 2024, the BBO heavily upgraded its transparency game by fully integrating the Lexum database. This is a digital, completely open access repository that contains every single attorney disciplinary order, public reprimand, and Supreme Judicial Court opinion going all the way back to 1974. They discontinued all those old physical disciplinary reports and just put the whole shebang online. And the best part, you can access it directly through a link right on the attorney's BBO profile. Let's move to and see how this builds if an actual complaint is filed. The life cycle here is serious and multi-stepped. First, there's intake screening by the Office of Bar Counsel to see if a rule was actually broken. If it passes that test, it moves to a formal investigation where witnesses and documents get subpoenaed. If charges are formally brought, there's a BBO panel hearing, which plays out a lot like a civil trial. Finally, for the most severe sanctions, like long suspensions or disbarment, it goes all the way up for Supreme Judicial Court review. So what exactly gets an attorney in that kind of hot water? Well, the BBO handles severe ethical violations. We're talking about misappropriation of client funds, which is basically stealing money, fraudulent conduct, extreme neglect of client matters where they just vanish on you, and severe conflicts of interest. But, and this is a big but, it's vital to note that the BBO does not function as a substitute for civil litigation. They won't award you monetary damages for simple fee disputes. If you just think your lawyer's bill is too high, that's a civil matter, not a BBO disciplinary issue. Okay, let's wrap this up with Section 5, final tips and disclaimer, securing your representation. Sometimes just grabbing a screenshot of a website isn't going to cut it. If you're forming a professional corporation, getting a real estate broker's license, or handling a major official transaction, you might need actual physical proof. In that case, you have to order a certificate of admission and good standing directly from the Supreme Judicial Court clerk for Suffolk County. Just a heads up, this is an administrative process. You need to allow up to 7 days for processing, and there is absolutely no expedited option, so plan accordingly. And hey, never underestimate the power of common sense due diligence. Independent BBO verification should always be combined with direct questioning. Just ask the attorney to their face, or get it in writing, if they have ever been suspended for unethical behavior. Review their third-party client reviews to get a feel for their communication style. And when you finally sit down with a retainer agreement, make sure the BBO number printed on that contract perfectly matches the active profile you looked up online. Think about everything we've uncovered today. The ease of the search, the total transparency of the disciplinary records, and the massive risks of just ignoring them. You now hold immense power to protect your financial and legal security. Before we officially sign off, I need to read our mandatory professional disclaimer. The information provided in this explainer is for educational purposes only and is absolutely not a substitute for consulting with a qualified legal professional. But I want to leave you with this one final provocative thought. Now that you know exactly how to look behind the curtain, will you ever hire a lawyer without checking their BBO profile first? Stay informed and stay protected.